Good morning from Bend, Oregon. After being on the road for the last 4 years, you start to discover that there's a couple places across America where the van lifers congregate. One of them is right here in Bend, Oregon, and today I'm gonna try to show you why. Right before we get into the rest of this video here in Bend, I do have a quick apology to make. In my last probably dozen YouTube videos, I've been talking about this map that I made to my favorite 61 small towns that I found in America after visiting all 50 states. It's totally free to give away, and I've had the link in my description for a long time. But I just figured out there was a technical glitch that wasn't letting anybody get this map. I fixed that, so if you went back and you tried to download this in the past and didn't get it, or you want it now and want to see my favorite 61 towns that I found across America, it's working. I figured it out, so thank you, and I apologize for that. Let's go check out the rest of Bend. Before I show you some of the intricacies of what makes Bend, the city, so special and all the little details, I rode my bike up here to the top of Butte to give you an overview of exactly where we are in Oregon. Now check this out. This is Bend. So aside from the obvious beautiful views that Bend can provide, along with a rainbow coming out over the horizon over here, what makes this city so special? Well, this place follows the recreation formula that makes all the best recreations in America the best places to be in the country. Access to clean, fresh water, access to wide open wilderness zones like you can see in the snowy mountains in the distance, and just about 25 miles down the road this way is Mount Bachelor, a ski resort that draws in some of the best skiers around the world every single year. Now that you have an overview of exactly where we are in Oregon, let's take a step downtown and observe how effortlessly downtown blends into the river system in Bend. About a century and a half ago, downtown Bend started as one of the most prolific logging operations in all the Pacific Northwest. You can still see the remnants of it right up here. Luckily, when people finally decided it wasn't a good idea to cut down every tree in the forest, they turned their local mill into an REI and changed the whole district into a shopping center where you have a ton of fun little stores. One of the best restaurants, this Greg's Grill place, is where I've had my best dinner in all of Bend, Oregon. I half roasted chicken. And the best part about all of it is it's right next to the Deschutes River that I'll go over and show you right now. This river is downtown Bend's connection to the wild. The Deschutes goes all the way up into the mountains, winding through these trails until it turns into forest and then eventually snow-covered peaks. So if you walk just about a mile up the trail, the asphalt walking trail becomes a dirt path forest trail next to the river, where you can actually be in the forest next to the river in the city. Bend and the highway is just right over here. We were just at the Mill District, less than a mile down the trail right here, and this is what makes Bend so cool. There's trails like this that wind all through the city, and it makes it feel like a recreation paradise when you're actually in a city. It's amazing. I'm not gonna do the full trail right now because I'm getting just a little bit hungry, and lucky for me, Bend is home to one of the top 3 bakeries I've found in all 50 states in America, called the Sparrow. So let's stop by and get a taste of one of the best meals that you can get in all of Bend. Here we are at the Sparrow, one of the best bakeries in all of America. A ton of people in here, so I'm gonna be quiet, but I'm still gonna show you the pastries. Man, I'm gonna take a Yali's torta.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take one of the cream puffs as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're starting with the cream puff. Honestly, if I wasn't filming a YouTube video today, there's no way I would be eating one of these things because it's just too much. But they do have the bonus of being probably the single best pastry I've had in all 50 states. Now there's 2 other bakeries that really stand out. There's the Red Hen Bakery in Montpelier, Vermont, and there's the Pantry in Clark Fork, Idaho, and this Sparrow Bakery. So these 3 bakeries really make up the best pastries in all of America. And if I was going to choose one king, it would either be the eclair right here from the Sparrow Bakery or these cream puffs. It just makes you smile when you eat it. Oh my goodness. That's the best in America right there. The best I've ever had. It's so delicious. Now, next up is their sandwiches, which I was so hungry, I took a bite before I turned on the camera. Now, normally their breakfast here is just good. It's not world class like I've had in their pastries, but I'm super hungry right now. And this particular pulled pork sandwich is absolutely delicious. I love the Sparrow Bakery. It's one of the best. Oh, that was so delicious. I love the Sparrow Bakery. But as wonderful as downtown Bend is, and as fun as it is to explore, I still don't love the city. Don't get me wrong, still probably one of the top 2 or 3 best small cities in all the country. But I still like to be outside on the outskirts, exploring, mountain biking, getting out in the woods. So now I'm going to show you one of my favorite recreation areas outside of Bend, and it starts with a place called the Cascade Lakes Scenic Highway. Remember how I was talking about how van lifers love it here? Well, you pull up to the hiking trail, and look what I've got right next to me. Ram 2500. I love that. It's just starting to rain a little right now, but coming out to these high ponderosa forests is never not exciting, even when it's raining. I feel like the weather's gone from sunny to pouring rain like 4 times today. But I'm gonna strap you on the top of the helmet and we'll go take some cover under the big trees, and I'll show you why this is probably my favorite ecosystem, the high ponderosa forest, my favorite place to run around in, and I'll show you why shortly. As we're getting further out into the forest, I want you to notice that almost every ponderosa pine tree that we go by has burn marks on it. This is because this is a fire-tolerant ecosystem, a climax ecosystem where the ponderosa pine trees have grown to dominate the entire forest. Why? Because they're the only tree species typically in the Northwest that can really sustain fire as well as they do. Their bark is thick enough that the fire laps at the edges of the trunks and comes by and burns off all the competition. So you see all these plants out here, they all died off when the fire came by, and the ponderosa pine trees said, thank you, finally, now we get all the nutrients, we get all the water in the soil, and because of that they grow bigger and bigger, and they outcompete everything else. So this stand of trees will last for probably a couple hundred years, a couple centuries, until a mega fire comes through and burns everything down, and the whole process starts all over again, as you can see over here with some of the bushes that are growing out of the rocks. So these will be the bushes that end up growing and creating enough moisture concentration for little Douglas fir pine trees to grow in, for little lodgepole pine trees to grow in, and little ponderosa pine trees to grow in. And the whole process will start over until the ponderosa trees get big enough to outcompete everything else and create this same stand of trees again. It is so cool. Made it to the view. Sometimes it can be really hard to tell exactly how big these forests are, but right here you can. Look at how awesome this is. So while I'm here at the view, it's a good time to point out another very interesting thing about these forests, is because it's so fire frequent, the ground here is soft and it's very fertile, so it's a great place to run around barefoot. It's a great place for farming, and it's a great place for development, which is another one of the reasons there's not many of these forests left. The other reason is because back in about 1907, there was a massive fire that swept across most of the United States. It killed something like 44 firefighters and just wiped so many like towns and villages and even into some cities, just wiped them out. So the US government decided we're going to suppress every fire across the country, and they got super good at it. So because of extremely well prepared fire suppression tactics, forests like this started to disappear. Why? Because this stuff wasn't burning anymore. This stuff started to grow up, and all of a sudden all these ponderosa pines that had a competitive advantage of being able to survive most low intensity fires didn't have that advantage anymore, and they got out competed, which is why you see a lot of choked forests up in the Pacific Northwest especially. So if they're not developed, a lot of them have been just rid of fire, so these places don't exist. That's why this is so special here in Bend, is because this is one of the few places where low intensity fires are still allowed to burn, and it allows this magnificent forest that doesn't exist almost anywhere else in America right now to still grow free, and it lets all these plants and animals that depend on this sort of place to live here. It's a unique ecosystem that you find very few places. So all that's pretty much to say, Bend, Oregon is a pretty darn cool place. I'm going to finish up the video right there. Thanks for joining me. Stay wild, be free. In the next video, I'll be headed back to northern Idaho, Montana, and that one will be pretty fun when we head over there. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't. You can get my list of the top 61 best small towns in America at the link in the description below. Until next time, baby. Bye-bye.